What's happening, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and we got a bit to talk about. What a disappointing result today. So disappointing. Sirens already starting in the background. You guys already hear it. I think I'm lagging a bit. Let me try to test this for a second. Give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second. Wait, no, not yet. My laptop is just moving crazy. It's like it don't want me to stream after this result. Give me one. Alright, guys, we back. We live and direct. We're back, and I think the stream should be good. Boy, I got a lot to talk about, and I, of course, want to hear your thoughts as always. Because you know what, guys? If I don't laugh, I might just cry. I'm not gonna lie. If I don't laugh, I might just cry. Big up to Eric Reed in the chat, says big up Mina, horrible game today. Honestly, we got a little post-mortem to do. Because that was a horrible performance today. Tell us how you really feel. Big up to Koala as always. Big up Adam in the chat, says if the players were dessert, they would be crumble pie. The police are looking for our heart because it was stolen today. Let's get into it. Let's actually just get into it. We could talk about starting with the first half. We can start with the first half, and you know what? I think overall, I don't think the first half performance was horrible, but you know what? My biggest issue is that, and I say this all the time, is that I don't like first half FC, second half FC. I want to see my team perform every single game throughout the entire game. That's it. I just want to see a good performance throughout the game. And can I just say that was an underwhelming performance? And I know it. I already know the players that will get the biggest blame. But let me just say this. And let me just say this once. This midfield is not going to work. This midfield is not going to work at all. Big up everybody in the chat as always. My biggest concern is that if our midfield is looking like this against Wolves, Spurs, how are we going to look when we come up against teams with better midfields? How are we going to look when we come up against teams in the Champions League? How are we going to look? We're in pot 2, meaning pot 1, we're ending up with a good team. We're ending up with a winner of their league in our group in Champions League football. How are we going to look in Champions League football? Is this just a stint, guys? Is this just a hiccup? Is this just a speed bump? Whatever you want to call it. Is it this, or are we in for a difficult season now? I know already I'm seeing people saying Ten Hag out. Guys, please, one thing I'll say is don't be reactionary. I know everybody's angry. I know people are annoyed about the result. I get it, but do not be reactionary. We can question. I was having this debate off camera with I think it was Raphael from, if you guys know, from United View, the team that were on the match view today. And basically someone was saying that I was too critical of Anthony at the beginning of the game, during the game, but then after that he said, you know what, I hear why you're criticizing him. And I was like, listen, if I criticize someone, whether it's the manager, the player, I'm not criticizing for the sake. I will say what I feel like they should be doing better. Yeah. Whereas I know a lot of people will just criticize. That's it. Can I just say, guys, please don't say Ten Hag out unless you genuinely have not liked the manager. If it's just based on this performance today and maybe the performance in the week, please don't say Ten Hag out. But we're going to get into it. I'm going to read everyone's comments. As always, big up to everyone in the chat. And if, you know what, guys, I might start doing, I said I was going to do it. I might start doing, adding the link to the stream, and people can jump on the stream and share their thoughts as well. The look on your face during the game said it all, man. I just was speechless. I had nothing to say, and people kept saying, like, say something. I just had nothing to say. And you know what, even when I came home from the studio and I was just, the drive home, I was just deep in it. I was like, what kind of performance was that, honestly? And we're gonna get into it. Big up to Rishin, says every week the midfield is wide open. It seems it's literally open like double doors. Big up to HB, says disgusting performance, starting to doubt Eric Ten Hag. No playing style over a year in charge. We were actually having this debate as well, and I'm sure you lot saw it. I am questioning what this playing style is. Don't say to me Ajax football, because this is not Ajax, this is Manchester United. Manchester United, we actually have our own identity when it comes to the playing style. Managers can come and implement their playing styles, but really and truly, the Man United way of playing football, we all know what it is. Don't say to me that Ten Hag's way, he's trying to implement Ajax football, because number one, that's Dutch league football. That is not English Premier League football. That's two different leagues. Number one. Number two, different types of teams. A lot of some of the Ajax players that he had actually came through the Ajax academy. So even that, we're not seeing Manchester United players coming through the academy where they make up 3 or 4 positions in the starting 11. And I would just say that the reason why I think we can question Erik Ten Hag, and we can have a conversation about it, I will say, is because he's had 2 transfer windows, he's had 2 pre-seasons. That should be enough to kind of stamp your little authority in the team. But really and truly, are we actually even seeing any of that? I'm not too sure. Big Up Dead and Gone says people were overrating this window. This window, if it ends like this and we leave if we leave the transfer window with the 3 players that we've brought, it's not it. If it's not it. Big Up to Adam says, if Ten Hag keeps this up, I'm turning on him. Tell us how you really feel. Big up to Adam as always. Shout out to Keegan says, we looked like 11 Maguires on the pitch. Pathetic. Maguire catching strays even when he's nowhere near the team. He's nowhere near the team. Nowhere near the starting 11. If I am Casemiro, I'm learning Arabic. Catch me in the Saudi league. There's a conversation to be had about Casemiro. If we don't get Amrabat, here we go by Thursday, I will be vexed. Shout out to Welcome says, hi, Min, a long time no see. Emotions are high. It's been a difficult one. Honestly, it's been a difficult watch today. We can't play Rashford up front with Bruno and MM7 in midfield. There's no creativity. Let's have a conversation about it, guys. We'll talk about the starters in the team, because if I'm being very honest, everyone's focused on Rashford, everyone's focused on Anthony, Mason Mount, but can I just say, Lisandro Martinez has let me down. The last 2 games, he's been erratic, he's been rash, even in his ability to play out from the back is a big benefit to his playing style, which is why he's our starting centre-back, but this is not leadership. What I saw today from Lisandro Martinez is not leadership from him. Can I just say that? And I think he's getting off kind of nice. He's getting off kind of nice in comparison to like a lot of other people that are being criticised. Of course, we always know who will get the most slack. But honestly, I'm disappointed with the way that Lisandro Martinez has played the last 2 games. Got a yellow card in the last game early. Ended up coming off at half-time reportedly with a little niggle in his ankle. Today, rash in his decision-making, flying into challenges, slumping man on the floor. That goal, the second goal that we conceded, yeah, I'm not sure why. He mishit it. I guess he mishit it and he was trying to clear it. So I can't really be too harsh in that. But in a moment where we're 1-0 down and you need to settle your backline, I don't think he did enough. And let me just say, it's not just him. I was disappointed with Luke Shaw. I feel like that first goal we conceded, that first goal that we conceded, Luke Shaw should know better as a left back, letting his runner run at him and waiting for your winger to track back. And you're not marking anyone. If you guys watch back to the first goal, Luke Shaw's not marking anyone. He's holding his position, tucked in closer to Lisandro Martinez. Go to your man. Shut him down before he gets the opportunity to even do stepovers or put a ball into the box. Shut him down. Instead, he stayed tucked in closer to Lisandro Martinez, waited for Garnacho to get back, and then cover the man. And by then, he put a ball in. For me, that's just disappointing. He has to do better in that instance. Go to your man and let Garnacho go into the space that you have just vacated. Bearing in mind, there's no one running into that space. There's no one running in from behind of Luke Shaw. So I don't know why he was so adamant to cover that space. And I think that is the biggest issue with the first goal that we conceded. United are failing the basic standard of a top team, which is controlling games. You know what I'm questioning? I'm questioning why we don't have a ball-carrying midfielder. We've went and spent 50 plus on Mason Mount, knowing that we need a ball carrying midfielder. And our biggest issue today is no one to carry the ball. And the reason why I say it's an issue is because when, even the Wolves game, when teams are defending compact, whether it's a 4-4-2, 4-3-3, however they're defending, the way that it is difficult to pass, because really and truly we're just passing side to side and back to front. Literally, that's how we're passing. That's how we've been passing. And if we had a ball, someone that can dribble, someone that can carry the ball from deep or from the middle of the park, it would allow the likes of Bruno, Mason to get into better positions, because they don't have to focus on trying to find space to get a pass so that they can then pick up the ball and then go for the next pass. And it's annoying. It's really, really annoying. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm also trying to be, realistic at the same time. Big up to Wallace, says, hey Mina, big up to you and the chat. I think Varane and Wan-Bissaka are the only players that look sort of ready. I think Raphael Varane today did his best defensively. We know what we're getting with Varane going forward. Wan-Bissaka, same, done his best defensively, picked up a yellow card, then had to get hooked by, the referees are just moving mad with the cards, by the way. Can I just say that? The referees are just moving mad. But if I was to try and take a positive away from someone's performance, I genuinely couldn't even pick. Maybe, I agree with Wallace, I would say Wan-Bissaka or Varane, but when the team across the 11 just don't look great, it's easy to look good, if you know what I mean. It's easy to stand out and look good in a team that doesn't look great. Don't forget that Martinez hasn't had much football in the last 4 months or so. That is true. That's true. I'm forgetting that he's been injured since the Sevilla game, which was like early April. So that's a valid point. Maybe I'll be a bit less critical of him. Big up to Tabislow, says, I can't justify the money we've spent on Mount and others. Our issues is striker and second DM, and we still haven't it. Can I just say, guys, and I think maybe today the annoyance just hit me, because how on earth did the board allow us to sign a striker that's injured? I'm sorry, how? You're telling me that it's probably likely that we will not see Rasmus Højlund play 90 minutes until maybe October. At that point, we've played Arsenal, we've played Brighton, we've played Spurs, we've played City probably. Champions League has started. We've probably played 2 Champions League fixtures at that point. How? I'm sorry, I it blows my mind. Maybe I deeped it today when Rashford was starting as that number 9. I can't believe they allowed us to buy a player that's injured. I just can't believe it. Big up to Pyramid, says, now I'm actually done. Eric Ten Hag digging his own ditch. I can't back anyone who rates Mason Mount. You know what? Mason Mount, I don't think I've ever seen... Actually, let me get through the rest of the comments. Then I'm going to come back to Mason Mount. Big up to Black Prince, says, I'm disappointed, but I believe we can fix up. We do need more players for sure. I agree. I think it's going to be a bumpy season. I think it's going to be bumpy. I think it's going to be a roller coaster, but it's growing pains. This is what I said. I think it will be growing pains. And it's going to be one of them ones where we have to get through the difficult times before we get into, the good times. Big up to HB, says, Eric Ten Hag had 2 full pre-seasons, 2 transfer windows with over 100 million spent, and he still didn't change anything. It's not about the results, it's about the football. Look how quick Ainge changed Spurs, 100%, not just him. Look at De Zerbi, Brighton, obviously, they got a good team. But even Unai Emery, even though they just got pammed 5-1 by Newcastle, last year you saw the way that Villa were playing, similar to the style that Unai Emery wanted them to play. So that's what I'm saying. It's very valid to be asking questions. Can't have a ball carrying midfielder if this club doesn't know how to complete a player's sell. It's just very sad that it's sad that signings depend on outgoings. Do you know how bad that is? As just looking at how the club is run financially, etc. That's poor. That's poor that you have to depend on outgoings because you don't have money, or because the owners are cash strapped, or because they're not willing to spend, because they don't know themselves how long they are going to be reaping the benefits of this financial institution that they own. Because bear in mind, the club to the owners is a financial institution. It's a financial cash cow, as they like to call it. It's a business for them. They're not buying. They don't own the club. The Glazers don't own the club for the sole purpose of wanting the club to succeed. They own the club because they want to make money. They want to make money. And what does the club do? The club generates them revenue. You know how crazy it is that they spent not one penny to buy the club, and now they're going to walk away with billions in their pockets. That's haram. That's haram, man. It's ridiculous. But I totally agree, man. I totally agree. There's something here that I wanted to come back to. People talking about FPL, of course. Big up to Eric Reed, says, watch us get a couple more signings now like last season. I don't think so. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I don't think this season has started as poorly as it did last. Like, we got embarrassed by Brentford. Embarrassed at home by Brighton in the opening game. Then we got embarrassed by Brentford. That was the catalyst for it all. I think, let's talk about, here you go, because Little Yo-Yo actually brings it up very perfectly. Shout out to Little Yo-Yo. Says, I'll be honest, I think this is a tactical issue. Ten Hag has to take some blame for the midfield being overrun. We need to see where this leads, but I'm side-eyeing some of these, man. Let's talk about the team selection, firstly. Let's talk about the team selection. Started with the same starting 11 that we did against Wolves. Some of them pants, poor performances. I think I'm a bit lenient with Garnacho. I'm not lenient, but I'm not too critical because I know he's young. You know, this is his first probably 2 starts in a row that he's had in his career. He's still learning, still raw in his talent. Should he know better? Absolutely, 100%. Some of the decisions that he makes, look at the sirens. At this time of the night, come on, London, do better, man, do better. But I'm a bit lenient with Garnacho just because I don't think he's a starter just yet. I don't think he's ready to be a starter. And I think that maybe it's Ten Hag's stubbornness. We were having this conversation today and I was saying, you know, Ten Hag is a very stubborn guy. To go with the same starting 11 that didn't work. And he's done this before in the past where he's gone with the same team that hasn't worked in a previous fixture. And then, you know, we have a bad performance and then we're asking questions again. For me, Anthony, serious questions have to be asked about Anthony. Coming into the season, I said it, guys, on a stream. I said this is the season for 2 players that I'm watching, yeah? Sancho and Anthony. And the reason why is because one thing I'll say about Anthony is that I'm not critical about him because of his price tag. Because he does not decide his price tag. That's decided by the selling club. They decide the price tag. He's not the one that's saying, sell me for 80 million, whatever. Yeah, so I'm not critical about him in that instance. But today what I saw, frustrating. It was frustrating to watch. And you know what? It's not just Anthony because I think we've seen it a bit in the past. But one thing I've realised with Anthony is when things are not going his way, and when I say things are not going his way, I mean, you know, hitting the post was unlucky. But you have to do better. He had a lot of space to the left, yeah? The goalkeeper's view was actually blocked by his own defender. Curl the ball around him. You have to do better. At least hit the inside of the post. You have to be hitting shots on target, especially when that's your special move. If you've got that in the bag, yeah, this is my argument with Anthony, is if you've got that in the bag, no one will criticize anything else because they know as soon as you cut in that left foot in swinger, bam, that's going in. But he's more of like a one out of 8 tries of that. Or maybe that's me being nice. Maybe 1 out of 10. I might even say 1 out of 12. It could be more so 1 out of 12 times he'll score. Today I saw him do something that pissed me off. Excuse my language, guys. But it was a counter-attack. It went out to the right and it was Bruno just on the edge of the box and Anthony had the ball and there was 2 players running at him. 2 defenders running at him, and instead of passing the ball, he did stepovers and tried to run in between the 2 players and just got locked off like a barrier. It became, you know, it's like the barriers came down, bam, that's it. He got frozen out. And I've seen that way too much when things are not working for us. And I've seen it with Rashford before in the past. It's like people see this superhero mentality, like they wanna be, you know, Superman and save the team. So they do this nonsense. And I'm like, you should be experienced enough to know better in that instance. And guys, this is not just on Anthony, yeah. This is not just on Anthony because I've seen it in the past. I've seen it under previous managers, but I think I've seen it more under Ten Hag, where these players, when things are not going our way in the game, when we're 1-0 down. Firstly, when we go 1-0 down, it's like heads drop. It's heads drop straight away. Mentality out of the window. Confidence gone straight away. Yeah? Straight away. And it's just, oh man, that really irritated me today. That really irritated me, honestly. Big up Tavislaw says, you already know what it is, guys. Like, share, subscribe, and make sure you guys comment on the video. It's the road to 1K. I forgot to hit the subscribe number here. But we're not too far off. We're not too far off. So you know what's happening. I'm going to smoke KG when we get there. And if the season continues the way that it started right now, at least you lot know you're getting some entertainment soon when I beat KG. That's all I have to say. Big up to Pyramid says, I'm on Eric Ten Hag's neck, but let me be clear. Rashford, Anthony, Mount, Bruno, Sancho, Wan-Bissaka, sure, I don't rate him. Forget the man who didn't even start. Can I just say, guys, how miles apart is Phil Foden, yeah, compared to some English players in our team? And yet Phil Foden is fighting for a spot in the England national team. I was watching that City game today. He got man of the match, yeah. Phil Foden, honestly, is on the ball, his technicality, all of that. His patience on the ball, how he reads the game, the decisions he makes. A lot of people could learn from him in our team, I can't lie. Shout out to Dead and Gone. Says, what are people going on about? We finished third under Ten Hag when virtually no one had us anywhere near the top now. Near the top four now, folks, acting like Eric Ten Hag is a bum. I don't think Dead and Gone agrees with some people's comments in the chat. One thing I will say is that, like I said, a lot of people reactionary with the whole Ten Hag out. I'm not Ten Hag out, but I do question his decisions today. But I also rely on him and believe that he will turn it around. Like, that's one thing I have to say. I believe he will turn it around. I don't think Højlund will do much. No service. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. Bruno had a chance today. Open header. A good finisher puts that away. If Højlund is a good finisher, like a lot of people claims, he will put that away. Rashford had a chance where he tried to dink it over the keeper. Keeper made a save. A good finisher dinks that ball better. You know, the Salahs, the Salahs, the Sakas, them man, they finished that. I don't think it's about having no service, because I think the service was there. We were creating chances today. We were just pants in front of goal. I remember at one point, guys, we had 13 shots on goal and 3 on target. And then Spurs had 7 on goal and 3 on target. How did they have nearly half of what we had, but the same number on target? That has to be asked. Questions have to be asked. Big up to Nature says, I don't know what is going to happen this season, but this team has to change. You know what? I feel like it's probably like how last season started. You lot remember the first 2 games, everybody was just going mental, and then we turned it around. Are we gonna turn it around? 100%. I think we will. I think we will turn it around easily. Not easily, but I think we will turn it around. But it's just a matter of Ten Hag's reluctancies to kind of change things around. Big up to Rishan says, sure doesn't help Garnacho. 100%. I realised that today. And even so, not just Shaw not helping Garnacho. Garnacho kept overhitting the pass. Every time Shaw did the overlap, he would overhit the pass. And I always say that Rashford plays better with Shaw and Shaw plays better with Rashford. Even when Sancho came on, Luke Shaw wasn't really doing much. He did not even overlap for Sancho, because Sancho was dropping a lot more deeper in that left-hand side. Bruno, Mount don't help Casemiro. Shaw doesn't help the centre-backs by letting people run in behind. Anthony is just awful. Woeful situation. Garnacho is a kid. Kids are kind of dumb. He'll come good. It's the club's fault that we are in the position to have to rely on a kid in a starting position. Anthony, though, no excuses. 100%. I agree. There's no excuses for Anthony. And I think it's going to, honestly, guys, I think it's going to get to a point where it might get toxic. It might get a little bit toxic. Big up to MUFC 14 says, we wasted our budget on a broken teenager, bench warmer from the 11th, and replace a keeper for a keeper. We should have put all that money into competent strikers. Imagine we got, guys, Harry Kane. Like, I know, I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, we could have got him. But realistically, guys, if the Rasmus Højlund money, 75 million, how much? They brought him for 120 million euros, right? Bayern Munich did. I'm sorry, you telling me we couldn't match that? Are you saying we couldn't match? I get that we're broke, we're poor, we ain't got no money. But you telling me that they couldn't match that? Onana can create 100 chances in the game, but who will score them? Let's talk about that, because actually, I think Onana should have had an assist today, or even he could have had 2 pre-assists. There was that one from a corner when it went all the way back to Onana and he chested it down, took a touch, switched the ball to Garnacho. Amazing vision, amazing ball, went straight to Garnacho's feet. And Garnacho did what? Some step overs, cut in right foot and tried to square it or whatever, when he should have just put it in the air for, I think it was Rashford, Anthony and Bruno running into the box. It's just the decision making. And then again, he played a ball over the top to Rashford, just a little bit more, and it probably would have got to Rashford. It forced Romero to make a stretch and kind of block it. Fell to Bruno. Bruno tried to play Rashford in, and then nothing as a result. I think Onana is only a matter of time before he gets an assist, I'll be honest. I think it's only a matter of time. If people are able to finish. Anthony and Rashford need to be benched. Ooh. They both aim for glory and lack any sort of football IQ, consistently running into defenders like headless chickens. It seems like, guys, after today, it seems like it's Anthony that's getting a lot of slack. Mount is getting a lot of slack. Bruno's getting a bit of slack, and Rashford. I think Casemiro just looks, honestly, like, I don't know what it is, guys. I don't know what it is. He don't look like Casemiro. I don't know what's happened over the last 2 months or so. I don't know what's happened. But he just does not look. He don't look like the Casemiro that we were seeing at his best. Phil Foden was allowed to develop. Pep wouldn't play him even when their fans and the media were clamouring for it. Since Fergie, our club hasn't facilitated the development of young talent. I feel like we have a young talent, throw them in, see that they're able to do 1 or 2 stuff, and then just keep demanding them that. I don't think Garnacho is a starter. Call me crazy, guys, but I do not think Garnacho is at the level of being a starter. I think he's a good impact sub, 15, 20, 25 minutes. Gives you the best in those 20-25 minutes. But every time I've seen him start, guys, honestly, I've not been impressed. And that's not me saying I'm not impressed with him as a player, because I like him and I think he's good and I think he's got a good ceiling of talent. But honestly, guys, please, anybody give me one example of a game where he has started and has had the sort of impact he has when coming off the bench. And I feel like for a bit more, we should allow him to come off the bench. It's good to have an option like that off the bench, because I think that what we saw, the common theme was having Garnacho running at a team that's tired 15, 20 minutes of the last at the end of the game. You get some good stuff over that. You get some good performance from that. But every time I've seen him start, he's not been impactful, and that's not me criticizing him as a player. That's just me wondering whether he's ready to be a starter yet. Big up to Show says the midfield is a mess. Can't get my head around how Eric Ten Hag thought Mason Mount was the solution. Massive questions have to be asked about that transfer. If we look at Ten Hag's signings, is he just making do with the budgets that he has? For example, guys, Sabitzer and Weghorst, 2 questionable signings in January, but really and truly it's all that we could afford, so it's all that he could get. Mason Mount, clearly we weren't getting De Jong. Clearly we were not going to go sign Frankie De Jong. Are you telling me when Newcastle were paying 70 million for Tonali, that's not something we could sniff around and think, is that a signing that we could get? I genuinely don't know how Mason Mount ended up at Manchester United, and I have not turned on him because, like I said, I would like to see him do well. I do question how he works in the system with Bruno and with Casemiro. Of course, we question that, but really and truly, is that on him or on the manager? Because today we saw how different he played the first half in comparison to the Wolves game. He was sitting a bit deeper, he was pushing up to press, not leaving too much space between himself and Casemiro whilst he was pressing. So we saw differences. He wasn't committing 100% to the press, and his retention was pretty decent. Didn't have much impact in terms of pass completion in the game, but that's more down to the manager deciding to play him. that's more. I think it's more down to the manager deciding to play him. I don't think it's really anything else. Big up to Tabislot says, did our players have a pre-season because it didn't look like it, or is it because we overplayed the same players last year again and again? To be honest, pre-season we never saw this starting 11 together, if I remember correctly. I don't think we saw them together, and that's why I said they just all look out of sync. There's no synchronization between them. And I'm honestly convinced Garnacho and Rashford, there's something happening there. There's something. And guys, if it comes out later in the season that there's a little beef or a little feud going on there, then just remember I said it, because the way they play together like they don't like each other. They don't want to pass to each other. They don't want to get each other involved. I don't know. Am I overreading? Am I like overanalyzing it, guys? Or do you guys see it? I think Eric Ten Hag thinks Mount is a Frankie de Jong like, but I don't see it, honestly. He's nowhere near that. He's nowhere near that. Going back to last season, all Ten Hag mentioned was no control in the games. Then he goes and gets Mount. Explain that to me. How can our best possession midfielder be Kobe? Not only that, guys, I'm being honest. How can we let Fred go and we still haven't replaced him? I'm honestly saying, yeah, today and even the Wolves game, that's a game of legs. That's a game of space. That's a game of running. Yeah, Fred would have been decent. I'm not saying he'd be a whole heap of difference, because our biggest issue is scoring, clearly. Being clinical in front of goal, being better in the final third. But that whole space in the middle, yeah, where we allow the opponent to run it. Basuma running around, literally strolling the park. He was having a stroll in the park. Papi Sarr having a stroll in the park against Wolves. Lamina having a stroll in the park. Mateus Nunes having a stroll in the park. In that midfield space, they were walking through the midfield like they had all the time on earth. And it's just pretty ridiculous to me that we let players go and we don't replace them, but also replace the legs, replace the numbers, etc. Even the substitutions, guys. Even the substitutions today, yeah. Ericsson came on, and I swear to you, after 5-10 minutes, I didn't see him again. Am I being harsh? I don't know if I'm being harsh, but honestly, I did not see him again. Big up to Abdenasir, says Anthony is shit, man. That's literally basically what Abdenasir is saying. Shout out to Abdenasir for that. Don't think Anthony's a fan favourite of recent. Anyone find it interesting that Eric Ten Hag didn't sub on McTominay? I find it interesting because one thing I've realised, I think, over the last 2 games is that we have no physicality in our team. We have no physicality in our team. We have no strength. And we are going to come across stronger teams. We're going to come across more physical teams. And we just have none of that. We have none of that. And I'm not saying Scott McTominay is the strongest out of the bunch. But he's tall. He's got a physical presence. He's better than, having nothing. And it's pretty interesting, you're right, that he didn't come on, because I genuinely didn't get the substitutions. We spent the entire preseason, or like a majority of the preseason, playing Jadon Sancho as a false 9, only to just play Rashford as a number 9 and play Sancho out on the left when he comes on. Nah, I did that. That's not good enough. That's honestly not good enough. Are we scared of Bruno's tantrums? Why can't he be benched when he can't score sitters and gives away possession for fun? It's crazy, because I genuinely feel like no matter what, Bruno's unbenchable. At this club, I think he's unbenchable. I think his impact in the dressing room, I think how he's such a likable player across apparently like he's liked across the entire Manchester United board, and not just the manager, but like management, people that run the show behind closed doors. They all love Bruno. They love him as a person. They think he is what the Manchester United DNA is. Like he dies for the club. I don't see Bruno getting benched. Honestly, I don't see it. I think Bruno has to have a howler, a serious howler. He's just been promoted as captain. I don't think Eric Ten Hag will make an example out of him and bench him. I think other people will I think Mountain will get benched before Bruno. I genuinely think that. I think Anthony would get benched before Bruno. And one thing I will say is with Erik ten Hag is players. Did you guys see how frustrated and angry Rashford looked when he came on off? He came off and he was like smashing whatever it was, bottle or shin pad or whatever on the floor, and he just looked angry. And I get his frustration, and I'm saying that because imagine saying time and time again, you do not like to play up top. You like to play on the left. That's your preferred position. That's where you're better at. That's where you're more impactful from. He knows that. The manager knows that. The fans know that. Everybody knows that. And then 2 games in a row you play up top and you're woeful. You're horrible. I can't say there's games where I feel like Rashford has had a 10 out of 10 performance consistently across 90 minutes in the number 9 position. In the number 9 position. We all know that is his bread and butter. Left-hand side. He's a left forward, whatever you want to call it. I get his frustration in that instance because if Bruno was started out wide, yeah, where he has no involvement in the game, he has no influence, yeah. If he was to be started on the right 2 games in a row and drop stinkers, yeah, I'm sure Bruno would be livid. I'm pretty sure Bruno would be livid. So I get Rashford's frustration, but that also goes down to the fact that we went and spent 75 million on one striker when, you know, we should have tried hustle a bit more and go and get Taremi. That's what we should have done. That's what we should have done. And I stick by that. Big up to Koala. Shout out Koala, as always, says, make Bruno vice captain, give the armband to Anana. Can I just say, after today's loss, why was it that Anana came out to speak to the media after? I can read you guys some quotes actually from what he actually said, because I was just reading it somewhere. I was confused. I saw it on the screen. I was a bit confused, thinking, why is he the one coming out talking to the press? So it was a pretty long-winded comments that he made. He said, I don't think they were better than us. We made some mistakes second half, but football isn't only about one half. 100%. I think we started the game good. We created chances. Unfortunately, we didn't score. And I think this was the key point for us. If we had scored, it would have been a different game for sure. Football is about scoring goals, and we had some big chances and we just didn't score. But we have to keep calm and keep working. I think we made some mistakes. We have to recognize it. We need to accept responsibility. And I start with myself. We know what we have to do. Maybe I didn't communicate well enough. Every goal I concede, I always look at myself. I always start with myself. This is a man who's self-aware. This is a man who's self-aware. This guy has self-awareness, yeah, as a footballer, as a person, as an individual. He knows that there was probably some faults that he had in the game that led to the goal. Or, you know, maybe he could have done better to prevent the goal. Especially that second goal, I think it was difficult because, you know, it was coming to him and then Martinez just kind of took it away from him. But why is he the one that's come? This is his second game for Manchester United in the Premier League. Why is he coming out to speak to the media? Where is the captain? Where is the guy who was promoted to captain this season? Where was he? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. How can we trust? Big up to Prince says, how can we trust a manager that was cheesing over Amrabat and telling him he's cheesing over Mount, and telling him he's an important player. Amrabat should have been the first signing and Mount the luxury player that was dependent on a sale. I saw Cams, big up to Cams. I saw Cams on DR saying how every season we don't make the necessary signings, suffer an early season defeat with an awful performance, then decide to act, rinse and repeat. Straight facts. It's true, and I thought that would actually be stomped out. I thought that would be stomped out by this season, to be honest. Did you see Mount laughing with Maddison after the game? Where's the sport gone? Honestly, take me back to the years, yeah? Guys, take me back to the years when England players hated each other because they played for opposing teams. Take me back to that. You know, they say that's why the England national team, like the golden era of England, you know, the 2000s team. Apparently, that's why they obviously never ever made it far in tournaments, in the World Cup, in the Euros, etc. Because there was no harmony in the team. There was no friendship. There was no, you know, synchronization, whatever. It was rivalries. People hated each other depending on the clubs that they were playing with. Manchester United had their clique. Arsenal players had their clique. Chelsea had their clique. Everybody had their little cliques. And apparently Gary Neville used to be the leader of the Manchester United clique. I was watching this. I can't remember where. I was watching an interview with a player, and that's what they were saying. Take me back to them days, because when I saw Mason Mount laughing with Maddison, that pissed me off. And I was just like, why? Can't you save that for, the tunnel when you're chit-chatting there? When you're chit-chatting in the tunnel, please save it for there. Big up to Eric says, I'm coming to the Forest game and I'll be highly pissed if I travel that far to see that shite like today. I hope you enjoy the game, and for your sake, I hope we win. I honestly hope we win. I hope you enjoy the game, and I hope they get a win for you. Honestly, I feel like Rashi is a drama queen. He has a poor mentality. That's what Ragnick was talking about. He has given up from the beginning before the game starts. That's no good. One thing that I hate is that when he doesn't, if it's like they're passing around, if the backline, midfielders, etc., the opponent, by the way, he doesn't do anything. He's standing there. He's walking. He's walking all the time. And he does it when he's playing out on the left. He did it today when he was playing up top. We see it. We know Rashford wants to play in the left wing position and not 9, but that's not an excuse to stop running and be ginger to give his best. That's true. I know, I totally agree. I don't think it's a reason for like, I feel like wherever you play, you should play at 100. You should play at 100. Rio said on his podcast how in his England days, they didn't even sit on the same table in the canteen. That's how much they didn't like each other. Apparently, Gary Neville used to round up the United players, and like if they had a team lunch, like everyone would have lunch at 1 o'clock in the canteen. He would take them all and be like, let's go eat at 12:40. And they'd go eat and then go about their business because they didn't want to sit there and talk to people from opposing teams. I can't lie, guys. Take me back to that. That's proper football heritage. That's proper football. That's when people would die for their clubs. They would die for... I'd rather they die for the club than, for their national team. I can't lie. I'll be very honest. But there's actually some interesting stats that I saw that I was looking at after the game. The lowest rated player on the pitch, guys, it was between Richarlison and Lisandro Martinez, both with a 5.7 rating, followed by Marcus Rashford with a 6.2 rated. Pretty much all of Tottenham Hotspur's starting 11, except for Richarlison and Kulusevski, had a +7 at the least, whereas Manchester United, about 5 players had a +7. But honestly, I'm looking at this thinking, how did Anthony have a 7.2? How did Bruno have a 7.3? And how did Shaw have a 7.4? This is why I don't go off ratings on like apps and whatnot, because I think it's poor. But this is for me what I was disappointed with. So Marcus Rashford was dispossessed 4 times. Yeah, had 2 recoveries, which is decent. Didn't even contest any aerial duels, so that was just 0%. And he only won 29% of his ground duels, 2 out of 7, which I think is poor. That is horrible in comparison to Alejandro Garnacho, who people have been critical of. He won at least the one and only aerial duel that he had, which was a ball over the top. I think it was from Anana. He won 3 out of 5 ground duels. Had 4 recoveries, so was obviously a bit more impactful, but had a lot less touches of the ball, and he had 2 block shots. Anthony, however, which is always my interesting part, because I think he gets a lot of slack for what he does. Accurate long balls, he had 100% whatnot. Ground duels, 7 out of 12. He won more ground duels, than Marcus Rashford even attempted. Rashford attempted 7, and he won 7. I feel like sometimes we're critical, but we gotta be realistic. I think we gotta be realistic. The title of the video, and I'll do this every week after match days, what can we learn after game week 2? Obviously, you guys put in what you guys have learned, but I think the most obvious one, number 1, this midfield will not work. This Rashford, Bruno, Mount, Casemiro midfield is not going to work. Casemiro in that space by himself will get overrun game after game after game. Mount, we know what we're getting with Mount. Bruno, he needs to be tidier on the ball. He needs to be more responsible with the ball. I think that's what I've learned today, number 1. Number 2, it's very obvious. Rashford can't play as the number 9. That's, I think, the most obvious thing. Has been obvious, but I feel like he's gonna play there. against Forest unless Martial starts. Number 3, I think I could. People might agree, people might not agree. I think that Alejandro Garnacho is not ready to be a starter yet. I don't think he's ready to be a starter. That's the third thing. Number 4. What's number 4? Number 4 for me is Erik ten Hag. I think Erik ten Hag's, would I say is stubbornness? Is it ignorance? His decision making when it comes to making substitutions has to be questioned. He needs to be critical. He needs to look in the mirror. The players need to look in the mirror, but he needs to look in the mirror and kind of make sense of what he's doing sometimes. Because I can't lie, that substitute, the 3 subs he made when he brought on Sancho, Eriksen and Dalot, he should have brought Martial on a bit earlier. Just bring on Martial, put him up top and put Rashford out wide. Please. Please, if you're adamant that Sancho might come on, put him to the right. Take off Anthony. If you want to keep Anthony on, okay, cool. Don't bring on Sancho then. Don't bring on Sancho. If you want to bring on Eriksen, take off Mount. Drop Eriksen into that partnership role with Casemiro. But I feel like that, you know what? I haven't even spoken about Facundo. Big up to Ahmed for bringing this up, saying Facundo has to start ahead of Anthony. Facundo did more in that 8 minutes he had in terms of being direct. You know what? We are crying for wingers to be direct. Every time Anthony gets the ball, we know what he's going to do. He's going to do that little stutter step to the right, do the little ball roll to the left, go back to Wan-Bissaka or go to Bruno. We know he's going to do that every single time. Facundo actually beat a man. I saw him beat a man twice today. I saw him get past the man twice today. He should get an opportunity. Garnacho is getting all these opportunities to start. I'll be very honest. I think Facundo deserves to get that opportunity. He should bench Anthony next game and let Facundo have a chance and see what happens. See what happens. Because really and truly, I actually heard that he's actually looking to leave. I think it's no secret that he's looking to leave, but he might go out on loan as well. I've said many times that Erik ten Hag just doesn't rate Facundo. I don't get it, but clearly he doesn't. I think Erik ten Hag doesn't rate quite a few people. He don't rate Dean Henderson, of course. Who else he doesn't rate? He doesn't rate quite a few people. We knew that he didn't rate Zidane Iqbal. Donny van de Beek, one of his own, don't rate him. Sent Amad Diallo out on loan. Doesn't rate Hannibal Mejbri. Hannibal Mejbri is too good to be playing in under 21s or under 23s, whatever that is that they were playing yesterday against Leeds in the PL2. I think that's the under 23s. He's too good to play in that. Is it because he's not good enough to play in the Man United first team? How would we know? I think he was decent. He was good during the pre-season. We are crying for a midfielder that can sit with Casemiro, sit a bit deeper, progress the ball playing ability. Hannibal could do that if given the opportunity. Obviously, Kobbie Mainoo preferred, of course, but he could do that if given the opportunity, but he's not given that opportunity. Instead, he's getting the Zidane Iqbal treatment, which is training with the first team, playing under 23s, and he will probably only be there to make up numbers in matchday squads, unless he doesn't go out on loan. It will just be that. Where does Hannibal play? He plays CM. At Birmingham, he was playing Cam, he was playing CM, he was playing DM, he was playing across different positions, but predominantly centre midfield. He's just a centre midfield. He's not a DM, but he can play as a DM. And that's the thing. One thing he's improved is his physicality on his loan spell. He's improved that. Improved his ball carrying ability. It has improved his awareness and reading the game. Obviously, I think Kobbie Mainoo miles ahead of him. Silence again. But I feel like he deserves a chance. Even so, McTominay could have played there. Not saying that I want him to, but in that midfield we are lacking physicality. In that midfield we are lacking ball carrying ability. In that midfield we're lacking a partnership. It's crazy because, guys, I promise you next summer we're signing a new Casemiro. I promise you. You see how everybody has went and signed their, Chelsea got Lavia, they got Caicedo, Arsenal got Declan Rice. Next summer, Yusuf Fofana, one of my favourite players at Monaco, yeah, is probably going to Nottingham Forest. Next summer, we're going to be itching ourselves saying, oh my God, we need to replace Casemiro. Because I'm sorry, guys, Casemiro is not seeing out his contract at Manchester United. He's got, he's got a contract to 2027. He's not seeing that out. Honestly, he's not seeing that out. I give him 2 seasons. And that's not me being reactionary based on how the season has started, etc. But it's just, I don't see it happening. And I actually said it before the game yesterday. He is the only winger who can put crosses into the box for Kundo. He's the only winger that actually runs at his man, heads for the touchline and tries to do that little drag back cross. And his work today, he could have got a penalty for it. I'm not going to dwell too much, guys, by the way, on the penalty shout. Because, yes, I think it should have been a penalty. But we should have been better in front of goal. We should have been better in front of goal. So I don't think there's a need to kind of dwell too much on that VAR call. How on earth we haven't been in for Gabri Veiga just shows the atrocious scouting at the club. I don't get the scouting at the club sometimes. I genuinely don't. I don't know what their scouting process is. I don't know how they I don't know. I would love to know what their process is to scouting players, if there is a process, or if there isn't a process and they just go off of. I feel like Erik ten Hag has a lot of control over his signings, which you want your manager to have, because in the past managers didn't have control over their signings, and it was board signings, you know, Ed Woodward signings, etc. But I think in this instance, Erik ten Hag should not have full autonomy over his signings, and we should have a DOF. We should have someone that can go out and identify players for us. Because look at, Brighton, for example. I'm always in amazement of the way that they work. Even though I was watching their CEO on Sky Sports, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Yesterday, their CEO was on Sky Sports. He's a disgrace. He was saying how the transfer market has been inflated by Saudi Arabia. And I was so confused. And he was talking about transfer fees and all of that. And I'm thinking, you are the guy that just sold a player for 115 million. You are the guy that said that you are going to break the British record for Evan Ferguson when it comes to selling him. You're already swearing on that. You already said Mitoma ain't leaving for nothing more than, 80 million. But you're talking about Saudi Arabia inflating transfer fees when Saudi Arabia have not even paid. Saudi Arabia has inflated the market because of wages, but not because of transfer fees. Chelsea have inflated the market because of transfer fees. That's what they've done. But their scouting system is ridiculous. They've got replacements ready before they even let a player go. And now we might as well, you know what we should do? When Brighton are going to sign a player, we should just try to hijack that deal, because clearly that's a good signing if Brighton are going for them. They're trying to nurture them. They've literally, before they signed Caicedo, they had a replacement. They had a replacement ready that they're still going out to sign right now. And they already look like a very good team. Very impressive. Amad Diallo, I think, would be so good. I think he would be so good in that team. But we need a competent sporting director who says no. The amount money should have been used differently. 100%. I think that amount money, for me, it should not. Firstly, we shouldn't have Mount. We should have bought him for 30 million. Honestly, we should have bought Mount for 30 or 40 million. There's no way he should have been 55 plus. There is absolutely 1 year left. Forget even 1 year left on his contract. If he had 2 or 3 years left, he should not have been 60 million. Firstly, he's not. I don't think he's worth that. And I feel sad for him, because I genuinely feel like I see another Harry Maguire situation happening where the fans hate him, or the fans. I think Mason Mount might be. I think he will be. I think Pogba was the player that divided the fan base the most. I think, but I think Mason Mount's gonna be second. Because I've already seen it already. I'm not too critical of him. Like I said, I feel like that midfield don't work. But if it was just him with Casemiro and someone else, or if it was just Bruno and Casemiro and someone else, then I think that midfield could work. So that's why I'm not too critical on Mount. Today, I think he started good. I think he had good contributions. But, big but, after about 50 minutes, it just non-existent. He was non-existent. That midfield was non-existent. They were just getting overrun, overworked, for physicality, tenacity, for everything. It was just not it. When Eric Ten Hag said he wanted Mount, someone at the club should have vetoed it straight away. 100%, 100%. That number 7 also is not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good. It just shows how far the club has fallen that our number 7 is Mount. Mount must be the most hated. He must be the most hated. 14 passes, he's a scrub. The thing is, play don't run through him. Play don't run through him. That's one thing I have to say. And that's why I'm not too critical on the passings or his passing numbers. Can he be better? Yes, I think he could be better. But the play runs more so through Bruno. And that's what happens when you're trying to play 2 players in the same position. One of them, their contribution will be nil, because everybody's going through the other player. How did Højlund pass the medical, or is he the Martial Hospital? Big up to Koala. I think that's ridiculous that they allowed us to sign. The board allowed us to sign a player that's injured. Maybe his injury ain't that bad, but what if it's an injury that is a reoccurring injury? What if it's an injury that, every couple of months it gets triggered again? I feel like if you are signing a player in the transfer window and the season hasn't started, you need to make sure you get that player get the player integrated into the team so that immediately they can hit the ground running from the first game week. And I feel like we have not done that. I feel like with Højlund, we've just set ourselves up big time. And that's a position, can I say, that we've needed for a long, long time. That's a position that we've needed for a long, long time. That should have been priority to have. We should have had a striker in before we had Mount, I think. I think striker should have been number 1, because that's the one that you need him to mesh with the team. You need him to kind of become synchronized. Synchronized has become my new favorite word, guys. I don't know if you realize. I've been using it way too much. But you want him to become synchronized with the players that he's working around. The Brunos, the Antonys, the Rashfords, etc. So by the time you get into preseason and they get a couple of minutes, and then they get to the first game week, hit the ground running immediately. But instead, we signed him. He's injured, and we ain't seeing him till Arsenal. Meaning we ain't seeing him play 90 until October, probably, to be honest. Let's play a game. Go and look at the passing stats for every midfielder that played today. None of them got less than 40 passes. He's dead, deceased, dearly departed. It's safe to say that Pyramid is not a fan of Mason Mount. Eric Ten Hag must have really wanted Højlund. I think he really wanted him. For them to bid like 60 million, I think it was initially, and then just go and pay the full price that they wanted in the next round of bidding. I think they just wanted it done, dusted. Maybe they knew he was injured and they thought the quicker we get him in, the quicker we could get him through his rehabilitation and then get him into the starting team. Maybe that was it. Nobody in the squad deserves the number 7, not even AG49. Honestly, that number 7 should just be left alone. I'm being dead ass. That number 7 should be left alone. You know, like how in NBA they retire numbers. We should do that with number 7. Just leave it and then take it out of retirement when someone who's worthy of wearing it is there. Because I'm sick and tired. I'm honestly, guys, sick and tired of having people that do not deserve to wear the shirt just get the shirt and just run it into the ground. And I know people are going to say it's just the shirt number. I say it sometimes too. But when you remember when you remember the players that have worn that shirt, and then you look at the players that are wearing it now, there's a big difference. The standards have dropped severely. Just like Ollie fell on the Maguire sword, I fear that Ten Hag might fall on the Mount sword. It could be. That really could happen. Goldbridge said a long time ago that United doesn't look at injury record of players before getting them. I hope this is not the case. Eric Ten Hag wanted Marco Arnautovic as well. That's true. When do we start questioning his scouting ability, the players that he wants? At what point do we start questioning it? I would rather give the number 7 to Onana. I'm afraid of the Antony sword. I think the Antony sword will be bigger. And the reason why I think it will be bigger and worse than the Mount sword is because that's a player that Ten Hag has worked with. That's a player that he proactively, we chased him, guys. Do you remember that window last year? We were on Ajax for how long? Begging, but they were on their knees begging for him. Going to Gakpo, saying to Gakpo, don't worry, we might come for you if we don't get Antony. And then they were begging for him at Ajax. And I feel like that sort, I totally agree with Steffi Jenks. Big up to Steffi. I completely agree. I feel like that one will be much bigger and much worse than the Mount one because that's one that we know for a fact Erik ten Hag was pushing for, one of his first few signings, big money signings, can I say. He was the most expensive one. That's number one. Number two, I feel like Mount, people have a bit more leniency with him because he's prem proven, won a lot more. Anthony won a few Eredivises. What else? But he's a Ten Hag player because that's the play. That it's like Lisandro Martinez. If Lisandro Martinez did not work out, people would have been on Ten Hag for that because that's a player that he went back to his old team and said, "Give me these two people." So I agree. I think that will definitely be the case. Big up to Abdenasir says we need Roberto De Zerbi, Mina. Wishful thinking. I think we're past. I think one thing I'll say is, as much as I'm concerned about the Ten Hag way of football or whatever that is, the Ten Hag way of football, I'm not yet on the we need a new manager like wagon. I still believe in Erik ten Hag that he will turn it around. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's experienced enough. I think De Zerbi's a great coach, but also De Zerbi clashes a lot with players. I'm sorry, but do you guys think if De Zerbi was at Manchester United right now and Rashford had that kind of performance, that kind of reaction when he came off today, they're beefing behind closed doors. Was De Zerbi not the guy that froze Trossard out, benched him, and then froze him out of the team? De Zerbi is the same manager, like a G, the G that he is. When Caicedo was basically being linked to leaving, he was doing press conferences before game week 1 saying, we've already moved past Caicedo. He hadn't even left at that point. But he was saying we've forgotten about him already. He's already out of our heads. He's ruthless. He's ruthless. And we know that Ten Hag is a ruthless manager. The way that he cuts people out, the way he benches people, the way he pushes people out of the door. But I would just say one thing, guys. Just be patient. Just be patient. I still think there's a lot more to see. It's just these players, guys. I genuinely feel that. Do you think that these players could be a reason why another manager gets sacked? Could that be the reason? That these players, even though not all of them, because who is it really? Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Rashford. That's it. Bruno. That's it, really. All the rest are pretty much new people. Varane, pretty much new. They only got Oli sacked, but Varane was barely there. Anana's new. Martinez is new. Garnacho was in the academy then. Anthony only came in with Ten Hag. Casemiro came in with Ten Hag. Mount has only come in now. So really and truly, is it a reoccurring theme? I have a question before I wrap this up, guys. Is the problem that we're seeing in players that were here before Ten Hag was? Is that the issue? Obviously I know we have an issue with Anthony, and that's clear as day. It's very obvious. But the issue that we're seeing with Bruno Fernandes, his erraticness, is clearly something that Ten Hag can't even stamp out. I don't know. It's just me thinking out loud. Ajax would have taken 50 in the start of the window. Murto madness. Yeah, right. I'm sick of hearing Murto madness. Honestly, everywhere I go, I keep hearing it. Murto madness. Murto madness. There's no madness about it. Mount's game will change once we have a balanced strike force. He, like Martinez, hadn't played much football because of injury. He'll be all right. He looked really upset when he came off and he was like breathing in and out and trying to calm himself down. He looked like he was a bit overwhelmed. I hope he's all right. Anthony needs competition. I hope Amad Diallo gets fit quick. I hope he comes back from. He ain't fit until He ain't come back till January. He would have been a big threat to Anthony. That's what we should have, because Sir Alex Ferguson won trophies with Dimitar Berbatov, then shut him out the next season till he left. That's what you call ruthless. Erik ten Hag signed Eriksen, Mount, Anthony, and they stank. He made Bruno captain. He gave Rashford, Shaw, and Wan-Bissaka new contracts. This is his team, Mina. That's true. As much as I'm trying to cover it up, I agree. That's quite true. The issue is the way the club is run and not having enough football people at the club to support the manager, because it's not a football club. It's a business to the owners. It's a business to the owners. Big up to Warren says, you really feel the difference in tone from the press towards Erik ten Hag. The questions are a lot tougher. We can't afford for him to fail. Because they want to see him fail. They want to see him fail so badly. Because you know the media loved Ollie. The media loved Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They loved him. Why? Because he was Manchester United's wonder boy. They couldn't look past the difference between Ollie as a manager and Ollie as a player. They couldn't look past that. The media have been questioning Erik ten Hag's appointment since the day he's been appointed. Since they said, what was it? They were saying he lacked personality. He didn't have any character. They wanted to see him fail, and solely because of that, and also because I want the club to do well, but also so that I can laugh at the media. I really want Ten Hag to win a big trophy with us, multiple big trophies with us, Premier League, Champions League. I want us to be a great team under Erik ten Hag. Will it happen though? We have to wait and see. At what point do we start questioning it? This is our second season now with Erik ten Hag. So is it third season, similar to Arsenal when they had with Arteta? Is that when we question it? Our pre-Erik ten Hag players were not system players. This project is going to take time. Fan base needs patience. You heard what Dead and Gone said, guys. You heard what Dead and Gone says. I want these players not to let Erik ten Hag down. Same. I totally agree. I don't want them to let him down. It's annoying. I wish they played for him. It seemed like they always played for Ollie. Like, they used to fight for Ollie. They used to fight for Ollie up until a certain point. That team used to fight for Ollie. And you know what, guys? Talking about Ollie and just the old Man United teams, the best midfield we've probably had, the most balanced midfield that has worked, is probably the Pogba, Matic, Herrera midfield we had. I think that's the most balanced one we've had over the last couple of years. It wasn't the most creative. We weren't getting 20, 30 assists from them, but it was the most balanced, and it worked. But this midfield is not going to work. Big up to Mustafa, says, I think Anthony needs to be dropped. I think he needed to be... There's a lot of time. I think he's been needed to be dropped since last season. The end of last season, I think he's been needed. Since the Barcelona game, he's been pants. He's been pants. And I wonder until what point do we say at what point does Erik ten Hag start to question his involvement in the starting 11? I'm not too sure. But guys, on that note, this is what we learned after game week 2. Of course, I stated the stuff that we've learned. We already know this midfield ain't going to work. Rashford ain't going to work up top. Erik ten Hag needs to start asking questions about his substitutions. And what else was the last point? I can't remember what the last point was. But also, we have to question how we signed Rasmus Højlund when he's not fit. Who signed that off? I don't know. We've needed a striker for many, many years. We waited this long to get a striker, and he's not even here. And the last point, what we've learned, we need to be more clinical in front of goal. Creating chances is all good and fun. Doing a Rabona as a cross into the box is all nice and fun. But until we're putting it into the back of the net, I'm sorry, I am not entertained. Big up to everybody that stuck around for this long. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. It's the road to 1K here on this channel, and tomorrow I will be live at 10:50, I think, UK time in the morning, 11 a.m. Women's World Cup final, England versus Spain. Make sure you come through. That's a better vibe along, innit? The mood will be lifted, innit? I will stop thinking about Manchester United for a couple of hours, and I'll think about the England team. You know what it is, man. The Lionesses are winning the Women's World Cup. Big up to everyone. Thank you guys for sticking around. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday night, evening, afternoon, wherever you're watching. And guys, don't let the game dictate your emotions. That's all I have to say. Big up to everyone, guys. As always, guys, it's your girl Mina. Until tomorrow morning, peace.